Am I wrong for reporting my date for stalking his ex? I went on a date with the guy last week, just a first date out to drinks. And we were joking about being true crime fans and kind of paranoid people in funny little ways. And how one time I climbed on the table in an Airbnb to find what I thought was a hidden camera with a blinking red light, but ended up just being a ventilation fan. Then he told me a story about how he felt like his last girlfriend and now ex and his brother were sleeping together, even though both of them denied it. And he put a GPS tag on her car and confirmed it, but didn't tell them how he found out. I was super freaked out hearing that. My story was fairly silly, but his was downright scary. I took out my phone and quietly started recording audio, but just acted interested and asked, "So, how did you sneak the tracker off her car after you confronted them?" And then he laughed and said he didn't. He could still see it in an app. I asked if I could see it, and he showed me, like, "She's at work right now." I was like, "Damn, what a workaholic, 7 p.m., and changed the subject. We ended up talking about other stuff for a while, and I was looking for a way out of the conversation. I texted my mom saying I was on a date with someone who was scaring me and I needed an excuse to leave that wouldn't make him mad. She called me right away and said that my dad was in the hospital and he was in critical condition and that she was coming to get me right away. This was BS. My mom took me straight to the police station with my audio recording to file a stalking report. The police took it really seriously and they sent a police officer to the girl's workplace, which I knew about because the guy had shown me her location and said she was at work, to warn her and to inspect her car for a tracker. Well, it got back to him ASAP because the girl told my date's brother, who she was still dating, that he was stalking her and the police found a GPS tag on her car. And the brother confronted him. He then started blowing up my phone. Luckily, he only had my dating app profile, calling me a narc, saying that he only did it because this girl was going to marry him and then went behind her back to screw his brother and he had to know, etc. I reported his profile to the app and also brought the messages back to the police station to see if I could file a protective order. It turned out I couldn't without revealing my full legal name, which I decided not to do since I have a very unique name and he only knew me by a westernized nickname based on my middle name. I also found out that he was arrested later that same night. But I'm feeling a little guilty. Like, of course it was messed up to still be stalking someone, but I guess I can also kind of see how he would want it to if his brother was sleeping with his long-term girlfriend. Am I wrong for having reported that?
I'm 25 female and my soon-to-be ex, 28 male, is gay and hid that from me. I found out because I caught him cheating, and he admitted that he knew he wasn't attracted to me in that way, but he wanted kids in a normal life. I don't care that he's gay, but I will never forgive him for leading me on so that he could use me to have kids. So it's over. End of story. The problem is, his family are fundamentalists, not jobs, except for a few members, and his mother is the interfering mother-in-law from hell. Not being related to her anymore is another plus to leaving. His family doesn't believe in divorce, so under the guise of picking up some paperwork and other items I have found that were my ex's, she cornered me about how I'm being childish and marriage is about commitment, forgiveness, and working through problems, etc. It became apparent that my ex didn't tell his family that he cheated. He told his mom that I was divorcing him because we weren't having sex often enough for me. I tried to be patient and explain that he had cheated, and that's why. I wasn't going to go into greater detail because I know how his parents are, and it's none of their business. Mother-in-law's advice, I kid you not, was that men are just that way, and if I want to have sex more and for him not to stray, that I should make myself more attracted to my husband and be a better wife. I lost the plot completely. It had been a sad and hard day already, and that was the last straw. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I told her that the only thing that would make me more attractive to my ex would be a sex change operation, and that I hope that he and his boyfriend adopted her some grandchildren so that she could finally shut the hell up about it. Not my finest moment, but she just hit the worst and rawest nerves that she could have, and I exploded. It's evidently turned into a huge family drama. He's probably going to be disowned, and my ex called sobbing that I've ruined his life out of spite. I don't really know how to feel about it. I do feel bad for him that his parents are such awful people and there were just no good outcomes for him, but I also feel like he made his own bed here too. Also, he's known that he was gay since before he met me, so this wasn't a new discovery or admission to himself. He has a boyfriend that he's been dating since 6 months before we were married. I went through his computer after catching him in the act and kicking him out and found messenger logs and other evidence going back before he even started dating me. He literally set this up so that he could have a nice Mormon family on the surface to keep his family happy. That's it. He never loved me at all. I was just the first girl to express a sustained interest. So, am I in the wrong for outing my ex to get his mother off my back? Part 2. Am I wrong for outing my ex to get his mother off my back? I finally got on radio silence for my ex's immediate family after the incident with my mother-in-law, so that's a relief. I work at the same place with a couple of his extended family members, so I still have to see them, but they haven't brought it up. They all know to contact me only through my lawyer now, and everything big that belongs to my ex has been passed on already, so anything else can be forwarded through legal office now. I shouldn't have to interact directly with them, but it's hard to avoid people forever in a small town. My ex tried to break into the house the day that I posted that story while I was at work, and I pressed charges. I don't know how it's going to shake out or why he's doing this when it can only get him in worse trouble, but I'm letting my lawyer and police handle it, and I'm staying with my parents for a little while until I feel safer. I don't know what's happened between him and his family, and I don't want to try to find out. My ex and I guess his family before the fight with mother-in-law spread rumors about me, and it's made living here very hard. It's a smallish community and people treat me differently now. The local stake president has been kind and, after being told about the cheating, no mention of orientation, said he would try to help with the rumors. I don't want to leave the area, but I'm thinking that I may need to, at least for a while, after the legal stuff is over. My lawyer and I have decided to go for annulment, since that'll take less time and be harder to fight in this case. Hopefully the ex won't contest it. I'm glad that we never combined finances, so there won't be too many joint assets to sort out. I will be okay financially still. This could have been much worse if I was a stay-at-home mom or something. I'm also going to start therapy soon. I was thinking about it anyway, even before all of this came out, because I've been feeling depressed over how things were working in my marriage for a while. I don't want to lose any more of myself and my time than I already have, and I hope one day I'll feel good enough to start dating again. Also, please, don't generalize gay people because of my story. There are LGBTQ plus people close to my heart, and they would never do this to anyone. I don't believe that outing people is generally okay, or I wouldn't feel so bad about all this. My ex's family set this up with their intolerance. I wish none of it happened for me and for him.
I found out my best friend set me up to get assaulted and robbed. Disclaimer, is not my story time. I'm sending me on Instagram. Growing up, I got bullied a lot and I never had a best friend. After graduating from college, I landed a really good job. I actually started working as a forest ranger and this was my dream job. I love being outside in nature. Like I said, I don't have a lot of friends. I even had to move to a smaller town to be at this job. When I got to this small town, immediately one girl started trying to befriend me. Let's call her Katie. Katie was extremely nice to me. Like almost too nice at the beginning. She was always inviting me to go out and even introduced me to all her friends. I ended up really liking her friend group, which was so nice. A month into living there, weird things started happening. One day I woke up to a knife in my tire. Then a few days later, 2 of my packages were stolen. I decided to install a Ring camera and I told nobody. For the next 2 weeks, nothing happened. Then one night, my Ring camera notifies me that someone is outside my door. The person was wearing a black hoodie, so I couldn't see their face, but I could tell that they were a woman. Part 2 is up. I found out my best friend set me up to get assaulted and robbed. Disclaimer, is not my story time. I said I'm on Instagram. That's when I see a black figure outside my door. Couldn't see exactly who they were, but I could tell it was a woman. I obviously didn't confront them because I didn't know if they had weapons. Instead, I turned on my porch light and they ran away. The next morning, I realized that they were scoping, trying to figure out how they could get in my house. I went to the police and they told me that it was probably just teenagers playing a joke on me. I decided to believe them because I couldn't imagine somebody wanting to rob me. But more weird things started happening. I have my packages stolen at least once a week, so I decided to get a P.O. box instead. Mind you, while all of this is happening, I'm still hanging out with Katie and her friends. She was always calling me her bestie, and we would do everything together. She would even come over to my house and sleep over. I truly thought that she was a good person. One night I go out with Katie and her friends. Katie decided to get belligerently drunk. This is when she started saying things like, "We know you have money. You come from money, don't you?" I decided to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, they were all gone. Part 3 is up. I found out my best friend set me up to get assaulted and robbed. Disclaimer, is not my story time. I said I'm on Instagram. When I come back from the bathroom, I realized they ditched me. By the way, they had given me a ride to the bar. Because there's no Uber at that time in my small town, I ended up having to hitch a ride with some random man. The next day, Katie comes over super apologetic. She even asked me if she could sleep over, so I said yes. The entire time she was at my house, she kept trying to smoke cigarettes outside, and she kept leaving the door unlocked. I finally go to bed, I check that the door is locked, and it was. Then at 2 a.m., I wake up to my Ring alarm notifying me that there's people outside. When I look, there are 4 men standing at my door, and they're yelling at me to open the door. They even said, "Be ready because we're horny." I was petrified. I instantly called the police and told them that they needed to leave, which they did. And I go looking for Katie and she's nowhere to be found. When the cops came, they ended up telling me that Katie had done this to other women, and that the group of men were her cousins. That's when I realized that she was the one stealing all my stuff. They were arrested, but they couldn't keep him there. How am I going to be in the same town as her? I don't think I should have to move. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for putting my brother on speaker and letting his fiance hear about what he's been asking me to do? Content: I, 23 male, and what people will call tech savvy. I know like a bunch of stuff about computer programming and mobile software, but seriously, I consider myself good since plenty of people come to me for help. For free, of course. So lately, my brother, 27 male, has been asking me to install a tracking app on his fiance's iPhone. Like, he had brought it to me twice and I refused after he tried to pressure me to do it. He even offered money, but I refused because I felt it was kind of wrong, and also, I only help out people who only want to be helped and like, don't have bad intentions. I refused because his fiance doesn't deserve this. I thought he had dropped it after I told him that if he asked me again, I'd tell her. Well, a couple of days ago, he calls me up while I was at my parents' house. His fiance happened to be there too. I answer the phone and he brings up the tracking app again. I put him on speaker and be like, "Sorry, come again?" And he says, "It's about the tracking app. I want it on my fiance's phone. I need you to do it tonight when I stop by with her phone." He proceeds on how he can no longer lie about her phone being missing when he hides it and brings it to me, basically telling me this was the last chance he's got to put the app on there. My parents go silent, but his fiance looks shocked, then goes off on him, and then he hangs up and she grabs her purse and rushes out. My parents lash out on me, asking me what the heck I had done. I tell them he refused to get off my back after I warned him. They cuss at me saying I just caused a huge problem between my brother and his fiance and stuff like that. Later, my my brother was calling nonstop, and when I gave no response, he sent a nasty text calling me names and stuff, then saying that I might have just compromised his entire relationship. I haven't seen nor heard from my family or him since then. I feel terrible, not gonna lie, and like I really messed up by putting a private conversation on speaker. So, am I the asshole? Note that this started right after his fiance got a new job. Am I wrong for hiding from my mom that I've been messaging her birth daughter? When my mom, 46 female, was 21, she was married to some guy in the States who was cheating on her when she was pregnant. She hated him and hated that she was having his baby, had a traumatic pregnancy, was really depressed and didn't like being a parent, then signed away the rights to Alyssa, 25 female, some months after she gave birth. Alyssa was adopted by her father's affair partner and raised by her. My mom moved up here north to Canada, fell in love with my dad and married him when she was 30. She's had nothing to do with Alyssa besides demanding she never contact her again after she tried to. Last year, my mom finally told me about Alyssa, but made it clear that she didn't see her as a daughter and that Alyssa's mother was her father's wife. She also demanded that we try to not get them into any contact. So that's cool and all, but I was really fascinated by this idea of a sister I never had. So I secretly started messaging her, and even though she was hesitant at first, we've become good friends and I really want to meet her. Okay, I know like you went through a traumatic, I can't even imagine what you went through, but I don't think it's right to hold sisters apart because I have a sister and I don't know what I would do in my life without her. So everyone deserves a sister. If you have it, like give it to her. She's also become really successful in her field and works at the University of Toronto, which is where I want to go. I'm not going to lie, I really look up to her and would love to follow in her footsteps. And Toronto is a lot better of a city than the one we currently live in. The problem is that I left my phone unlocked yesterday and my mom freaked out when she saw that I was talking to her. She pointed out that she didn't want a reunion or me talking with her and that we aren't family and doesn't want my siblings to know before they're my age. I felt really bad because she started crying a lot, like more than I've ever seen before. My dad told me it would all be okay, but he's been the one dropping me off to school, even though it's always been my mom. I've been wondering if I'm the asshole from hiding from my mom that I've been messaging Alyssa. So, am I?